billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ayyuhan nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum and peace be unto you. This is your brother Hamza Abdullah checking in again for the Transition Remix. Doing our best to record every day another aspect of the Transition Remix train, the transition journey. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. This is the where we at the 7th day of Ramadan, I believe. 7th day of Ramadan. Are we at the 7th day of Ramadan? No, we're on the 8th day of Ramadan. So we're on the 8th day of Ramadan. This is episode 7 of the Ramadan transition. And with the Lord's permission, we are in step 3. Step 3 of a 7-step process. Step 1 was to officially retire from what you're transitioning from. Step 2 was to take a break so we can kind of clear our head. And then step 3, we are to create that plan. We're going to create a plan so that we can move forward to where we're wanting to go. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. This morning I got a text from a good brother, Brother Adil Khan out here in Arizona, that said that Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, had passed away. And, you know, whenever I get a text like that, it kind of just waking up to a text like that, I kind of, you know, I'm like, is this real? So then, of course, I do my rounds. I go to Twitter or Instagram, see if anyone else is texting. And, excuse me, the news is true. And so, whenever someone passes away in the Islamic faith, we remind ourselves that to Allah we belong and to Allah we shall return. And so our dear brother Dwayne Haskins has returned to Allah, has returned to his Creator, has made his final transition of this life. And we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And I ask Allah to shower upon mercy, peace, and patience to the Haskins family, to his loved ones, and to the NFL brethren. Because we are one body. As NFL players, you know, there's the rivalries of the Ravens and the Steelers, and the rivalry of the 49ers and the Cardinals, and the rivalry of all these different things. And it's like, we're still NFL players. We're still human beings. We're still brothers. We still have the same grind. We have the same lifestyle. We do our best to connect on a deeper level than just in football. And so my prayers right now are for the Muslim community as well as the NFL community. You know, we're here in the month of Ramadan, and we're working through that transition of this beautiful, blessed month. And here as an NFL player, now we're transitioning, understanding your mortality. Whenever a player dies, especially a current player, whenever a current player dies in the NFL, it is a reminder to myself and ourselves as NFL players that we are not immortal. We are not immortal. And we're not just football players. We're so much more than that. And at the end of the day, you know, people are going to report, you know, as we've seen reporters talking about the stats of the NFL, like, oh man, he only did this and he only did that. That's not going to matter when we die. It just isn't. What's going to matter are the people that we touch, the people who remember us. What are the people going to say to us, and what are the people going to say about us when we die? And I remember Tupac would always say that, you know, in the song Thug's Mansion. And then where do we go when we die? With the Lord's permission, hopefully we're going to meet him in the highest levels of paradise. But this is the transition. Every transition in our life leads to that final transition, which is our death. And our young brother, Dwayne Haskins, what was he, 27 years old? I believe he was born in like 1997? 25? Subhanallah. So he was 24 years old. His 25th birthday was just in a few weeks, May 3rd, I believe. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So, and he's played football. You have to ask yourself, he passes away at 24 years old, and he's probably played football for 17 years. So that's all he knows. How many people, how many connections has he made during that 17-year time? How many transitions has he made during that 17-year time? Going from one team to the next, going from one neighborhood to the next, going from one school to the next. And it pains me too when a young player goes to an organization or goes to a place and doesn't have success, and everyone jumps on the media jumps on the player and say he's a bust or what he didn't do. Well, what about transitioning from being a college football star and transitioning to an organization that is not set up to succeed? There are always three things. When I look at an individual and talk about football, look at this whenever it comes to a quarterback. Whenever it comes to a quarterback and someone deeming them a bust, I ask myself three questions. Number one, what organization did he go to? Number two, who is the coach? And does he have the propensity to develop talent and get the most out of his players? And then number three, does he have an OG? Does he have a veteran to teach him the way? If you don't get drafted to a great organization, if you don't have a quarterback coach and a head coach that believes in you is going to push you and develop you to put you in the best positions to succeed, and you don't have an OG, a veteran, to show you the ropes of how to be a player, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult to play quarterback in the NFL if you don't have those three things. And that's on the football field. What about all the transitions and all the things off the football field? Which is why the veteran player comes into play. And so for us, Bismillah Ta'ala, with Allah's permission, as Muslims, going through the month of Ramadan, we understand that death is a part of this process. We understand that death is a part of this process, and we are to prepare for our death. We understand that. But that doesn't make it hurt less. That doesn't mean that we have less tears to cry. That doesn't mean that it doesn't make us want to say, hey, wait a minute. Did I do everything I could to connect to that young brother while he was here? You know, as a professional big brother, or as a veteran NFL player, am I doing my best to connect with our young brothers who are still on the field, even though I've been removed for 10 years? That is a question I ask myself. What type of dawah am I giving to our young players who are in the league right now? Dawah is not just leaflets and telling someone, hey man, you have to do like this, and then you don't do this and do that. That there's more to dawah than that. Is interacting and connecting with our young brothers and our young sisters who may be going through similar things that I went through. And so today is a difficult day as we transition into the second week of Ramadan, as we transition into maybe if we're going along in the transition and we've learned about step 2 and then now going to step 3 about creating a new plan as we move forward through the month of Ramadan. But then what happens when you get that awakening of death? Death is the destroyer of pleasures. Death is the final transition. And so with Allah's permission, I want to do my best when it comes to transition, when it comes to being a professional big brother, when it comes to reaching out to our younger brothers and sisters who are professional athletes and who are going to be professional athletes. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to neglect my responsibilities as a man in the community with someone who is not going to be a professional athlete. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is this is the community and the demographic that I come from, that I know needs services, that I know needs help, that I know needs a big brother to let them know they're doing their best. It's so important at this time as a young person, as a young Muslim, as a young athlete, someone who is going through mental health struggles, remind yourself that you're doing your best. That's helped me so much during my transition to remind myself that I'm doing my best. And if you don't feel like you're doing your best, then reach out to someone who can help you to do your best with Allah's permission. And so we're here, again, working on our transition, working through our transition, working through the month of transition. And we got news of our young brother, Dwayne Haskins, who has passed away. May Allah have mercy on his family. May Allah shower peace and patience on his family. And may Allah bless the NFL brotherhood to come together to support his family, because it's a very difficult loss. Young star quarterback in college and then going to the NFL, going through many transitions and being talked about all the time. And that's not even knowing his real self. And that's what I love about our brothers at I Am Athlete, Brandon Marshall, DJ Williams, Pac-Man Jones, Ocho Cinco. That's what I love about our brothers on the Pivot podcast, Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor, taking our story and then telling it ourselves. Like, as NFL players, we don't need another outlet to tell us who we are or to talk about what we go through and experience. And so, unfortunately, we have sometimes the main media that, we want to talk about the X's and O's, and we want to denigrate a guy and say what a guy didn't do on the field. And, I'm just doing my job. Man, that dude is a man. So now you can go back and see all the slander that was attached to this young brother's name simply because of what? Because he didn't come in and blow away. He didn't come in and become, this all-star, all-pro quarterback. He's still a young man. And all those people reporting all these things, do they know and understand what it takes and means to be an NFL player, what it means to be an NFL quarterback in Washington, D.C.? If you're not Robert Griffith reporting on what it means to be a quarterback in Washington, D.C., then who are you? Who are you? And again, that's if someone is reporting these things to degrade a person or to put them down or to talk about their personality or their characteristics or who they are as a person. We don't even know them. But that's why I love these player-led podcasts, where we get a chance to see and hear from the individual themselves. Like, subhanAllah, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. To God we belong, to God we shall return. But look at the Michael Beasley podcast. When Michael Beasley was on the Pivot with Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, and Channing Crowder. Michael Beasley is screaming out, hey, man, I asked for help. I want help. I wanted help. But people were calling me a bust. The perception of me was I was some thug. I was doing this. I was doing that. Bro, I just wanted some help. I just wanted a big brother. I just wanted an OG. I just wanted help. So we have these young brothers and young sisters who are out there as athletes, professional athletes, student athletes, who are doing their best. But they need help from the OGs. They need help from the professional big brothers. They need help from elder statesmen, people who've done what they've done. What they don't need is to be denigrated in the media. They don't need that. And now subhanAllah, I don't know what it's like to be a professional athlete in this age of social media, where everything goes viral. Anything you think saying does, has the potential to go viral, where you just can't be you. Like, when I would clock out, man, I could go to Walmart and just walk around the halls or walk around the aisles. Not saying I did that. I'm not a Walmart type guy, but I could go to the store and just like zone out. I like going to Best Buy. I would go to Best Buy and just walk in my electronics, do this, go look at a video game, go look at a CD, go look at a big screen TV. I would sit there in the home theater place at Best Buy sometimes and just go sit down and reflect and relax. Because I needed that. I just needed to chill. I just needed to feel like myself. I just needed to feel like I wasn't being watched. But now, as a professional athlete, everywhere someone goes, there's a camera in their face. So how are we to grow if we're constantly being watched? You can't grow if you're constantly being watched. I challenge you to go look at a plant and go just stare at a plant. You tell me how much it grows. Or for some of us has children, just go stare at your child and just go watch them grow. And even more importantly, look at yourself and just stare at yourself. How are you going to grow like that? No, you need to go through these trials. You need to go through these obstacles. You need to go through this learning. You need to go and talk with other people. We need to be aware of our ignorance and then go address that. Reduce our arrogance by saying, hey, can you help me with this? And then that's when we can learn. But it's hard to see your own growth. And if we allow someone else to tell our story, then they don't see us growing. Or if they have, an ulterior motive, they don't want to see our growth. And that's really difficult. But in this course of transition, during this blessed, beautiful month of Ramadan, as we're speaking good and doing our best to connect as brothers and sisters, it's important to be mindful of others and their growth. It's important to be mindful of others and their transition. Because all of us are going through our transition. All of us are going through smaller transitions, unique transitions that lead us to our ultimate transition of this life, which is our death. We are all on that path. We are all on the race to get to our death. And when we get there, I ask Allah that we get there empty. That we gave everything that we possibly had. We gave everything we possibly had to our time on this earth to leave a lasting impact and impression. Allah, I pray that I worship as best I could in the unique way that I was able to do it. I pray that everyone that I came in contact with, that I did my best to be gentle, to be merciful. That when they looked at me, that they were reminded of you, my Lord, because they're like, man, that brother right there, man, he really cares about me. Whether I'm Muslim or I'm not Muslim, whether I'm a male or a female, whether I'm black or Hispanic or white or whatever it is. That brother looked at me, he just looked at me as me. And he approached me as such. So, wow, he was being merciful. The other thing is, did he try to educate? Like, did he try to share his knowledge so that when he dies, I pray that when I pass away, that someone can say, hey, he taught me this and I still use it. I pray that someone can say that, hey, man, he helped me to do this and to get this, maybe this job, and I'm still working there. So that's the legacy. That's the part where you get to Allah and you say, Ya Allah, I pray that I did my best. Like, I pray that we all do our best. Again, we're all transitioning. And our young brother, Dwayne Haskins, Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilaihi Raji'un, passes away this morning, being hit by a car at the age of 24. At the age of 24. We had a young brother, Sean Taylor, in 2007. He passed away at 24. My good friend Darren Williams, Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilaihi Raji'un, to God we belong, to God we shall return. He passed away at 24. So we have these young football stars, the young NFL players, making that final transition to Allah. And we're still here. We get to see this. We get to see that death is true, that Allah's promise is true, that this life will end. We don't need to end it before Allah ends it. Like, we still have things to do. We still have mercy. Still have a lot of mercy to give. First to ourselves, then to our family, then to the surrounding community, then to our nation, then to the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an that he only sent Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him, as a mercy to mankind. So are we embodying that? Are we embodying that mercy? How merciful is it as a Muslim and a young brother passes away and everyone's tweeting rip, R.I.P., R.I.P., rest in peace, rest in peace. And then a Muslim comes in and says, hey, we can't pray for him, he's a kafir. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan, and I ask Allah to forgive me for my shortcomings and mistakes. And I ask Allah to allow me to be merciful. Number one, we don't know what's in anyone's heart. That's the first thing. We don't know what's in anyone's heart. All we can go by is how they treated us, or how the people that they came in contact with, how they were treated. And regardless, You don't know. Pray for people until Allah tells you you can't. How about that? Let's take the prophetic example of praying for people until Allah tells you you can't. That's when the Prophet Muhammad stopped praying for people. Was when Allah told him he couldn't. So I'm going to follow that sunnah of our beloved Prophet, our Nabi, Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. I'm going to pray for people until Allah tells me that I can't. So may Allah have mercy on our dear brother Dwayne Haskins. May Allah have mercy and shower his peace and his blessings on the family of Dwayne Haskins. And may Allah be pleased with Dwayne Haskins' agent, Brother Cedric Saunders, who was my personnel guy when I first got into the league. So as a wide-eyed rookie going down to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Cedric said coming in and being a big brother. Like, that's where I got the idea of professional big brother. I was like, man, who helped you when you got to the league? Man, Big Sid. Even though I was only there for a short time, he always made sure that we knew what we were doing. He always made sure we was going the right way. It's so funny, too, because when I first got my first check in the NFL, my first check in the NFL, and when I say my first check, I mean my first check with some zeros on it. Sid has these envelopes. He has these envelopes in training camp. And then he gets to mine. He has a big smile on his face. And he hands it to me. And he says, Hamza, it's hot. Hamza, it's hot. And I was like, it's hot. He was like, it's hot. So then I got back to my room, got back to the hotel room. I opened it. Woo! Seeing them zeros. I said, Allahu Akbar. So Big Sid, man, he had that love, and he just appreciated seeing a young player, getting his due, getting paid, doing well. So, man, salute to Sid. I truly appreciate him. And I appreciate all the brothers and sisters who are being big brothers and big sisters to the young NFL players or to the young professional athletes, helping them get to a place to where they understand that they are more than just an athlete. And when I say more than an athlete, I mean more than just the statistics on the field or the court. You're a human being. You're a person. So that on the day that we pass away, on the day that our name goes across the bottom line on SportsCenter, I pray that the first thing that comes up to everybody is, man, that was a good brother. That was a good sister. Man, may God have mercy on them. Just instant prayers. Just like, man, I appreciate the time that I had with them. So again, this is your brother Hamza Abdullah checking in for the transition remix and the Ramadan transition. And today we had a place. We got to a place where we're talking about the final transition, which is death, and understanding that every transition leads to our death, leads to death. And I ask Allah to aid and help all the brothers and sisters who are struggling right now, who are struggling with their health, they're struggling with their wealth, struggling with their family, struggling with, something that people can see and something that people can't see. I ask Allah to heal them, to protect them, to transition them from this to prosperity this Ramadan. I ask you, the listener, to please forgive me for my shortcomings and mistakes, and to please keep me and my family in your prayers as we're doing our best. And remind yourself that you're doing your best. If you don't feel like you're doing your best, then ask yourself, how can I do my best? And then do it. So with Allah's permission, I thank you very much for being here. And I ask Allah to, again, shower his mercy and blessings and his forgiveness and widen the grave of Dwayne Haskins and make it easy for him as he transitions on from this life to the next. And I ask that Allah have mercy on the Haskins family and young brother Dwayne Haskins' family and his friends and his teammates. And as an NFL family, we put a big hug around each other and let us know that, hey, you're not alone, that you're my brother. And so if I said anything that is of error, that is from me, and I ask you to forgive me. If I said anything that is good, then that is from God. And I ask that you continue to have a beautiful and blessed Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.